Good morning. Today's lesson is 5.12 Observational Studies. Today's aim is how can we identify and describe the different types of the observational studies. So what you're going to do for your do now is you're going to click this BBC News article and then you'll read through it, answer the following questions. Was this an experiment or observational study? Please explain your response. And then, was this prospective or retrospective? Again, explain your response. Alright, moving on. So, was this an experiment or observational study? This was an observational study because the researcher in the article did not change any aspects of the environment. He simply asked about smoking habits and monitored cancer data. So remember, in the article, all he was interviewing doctors who smoked to then track what their health looked like in the further years. Was this prospective or retrospective? This was retrospective because he was asking the participants about their smoking history and then was reviewing their medical history to monitor the cancer diagnosis. Alright, so looking on today's lesson, observational studies. There are three types of observational studies. Some of them could be prospective, some of them could be retrospective. So the first one is a cross-sectional study. So this involves collecting data about individuals at a certain point of time. This is the cheapest and simplest to conduct, but it gives you the least conclusive results. So an example about this would be looking at people who worked downtown around 9/11 and looking and checking their health history for any cancer. Another example could be asking students and teachers or studying students and teachers who were in school when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out and monitoring to see who actually got infected. If you would like more examples, click that link right there. Second is the case control studies. So these compare two groups, one with a common characteristic we call a case, the one without it. So this is frequently used in the medical field. The do now is an example of that. So example for in the do now would be that smoking, right? He looked at people who smoked. That's the case. And then the control would be the doctors who didn't smoke. And this is retrospective because what you do is once you break them into the two groups, you then look back at their history. So example is the smoking and the cancer diagnosis. And then the last one is a cohort study. So that's a study where one group called a cohort is selected to participate in a study and then observed to determine if a characteristic affects a response variable. So this is prospective, right? This would be like, I'm going to take 100 people with upper respiratory diseases, whether it be like asthma or something, and I'm going to look to see how their infection rates of COVID-19 compared to people without any sort of respiratory illness. Again, you can click the link for another example. So now, today's real goal is being able to identify what type was used and then be able to explain why that was. So, a recent article in the BBC News Health section describes a study concerning dementia and midlife ills. According to this article, researchers followed more than 11,000 people over a period of 12 to 14 years. They found that smoking, diabetes, and high blood pressure were all factors in the onset of dementia. What type of observational study was this? So, because the researchers tracked the 11,000 participants, and you could also talk about what they were looking for specific characteristics, that is like the smoking, the diabetes, the high blood pressure, this would be a cohort study. So now you are going to repeat the process for these two questions in your Google Slides. I will post the answers tomorrow Wednesday with the next lesson. Have a good day, guys. Enjoy your start of your week.